dads go by Q. Hey, so um question, and I don't know if any of you have watched it yet, but um it's the story, it's the Hulu documentary of Devil in the Family of Ruby Franke. And it's a whole crazy story, right? This blogger, but the question that I have for you all is, if you watched it especially, is does Kevin Franke deserve to be in jail? uh because if you watch this, I think it's only like 3 episodes, but you watch these 3 episodes of this of Kevin Franke, well, not just of him but his entire family, the story, what happens from start to finish, and then you watch the last episode especially, let me tell you, you start to really, at least for me, it started to make me really question this Kevin Franke character, her husband, because this guy, I, I'm gonna be honest. I'm hesitant to believe that he was just completely oblivious to what was going on within his own home. And you know, I'm a I'm a dad. I'm a dad who works just like him who what he was doing. And like to just to be like oblivious, to be like completely this, like, hey, no, it's her fault, like everything that happened, is her fault. Now don't get me wrong, she did a lot of things wrong, and which obviously led her to jail. um but like, he played a role in that, like his family, like he played a role in that, and what that looked like. And it was one of those things to me for me where I'm like, were you gonna act like you didn't play a role in that? Oh man. So let's just dive into it. So I pulled up this Forbes article, because I think it best kind of describes what happened. And so like, so this is Kevin right here. Hold on, let me fix this out right here. So this is Kevin, the husband. And then you have the daughter, the eldest daughter. I mean, she has some stories, and like, I'll let y'all know, because there's some beef between Kevin and his daughter, his oldest daughter here. I can't remember her name, to be honest with you, but there's some beef in there. And then this is the eldest son. I think it's Chad. I think it's Chad. It's Chad. So, but there's yeah. So Sherry's the eldest daughter, and then Chad. Um, there's some beef there though. Like they like, there is some beef, and um you can tell, and this will get to this. I'll kind of delve into this in the end, but like, there's this is you could tell how Kevin. This is why Kevin is like, why people are saying Kevin is so suspicious. Like, I think on X right now, there's this thing going on. It says Kevin Franke should be in jail, and like a bunch of people are like commenting and talking about how they think Kevin Franke should be in jail. Which again, I don't necessarily disagree. I think he should be in jail. Well, how do I put this? Maybe not in jail, but I think there should be more questions asked of him, and we should, and like, I think there should be more. He should be looked into more to figure out really what he knows, and if he's um if he's really as innocent as he proclaims, because he is definitely a guy that he says some crazy things. You know what? Let's do this. Let me just play this for y'all real quick. Let me uh, because I want you guys to really understand. Okay, like, um well, no, I'm gonna play for you first. Let's go over some stuff. Let's go over some of this stuff. So you have this family. Ruby is the mom, and Ruby starts a YouTube channel, a family blogging channel. And in the beginning, it's predominantly just them, her, the two eldest, and her husband. So all the three of them here, plus Ruby. And so Ruby starts this channel, and this channel really grows. Her channel really, really grows, and they start. I'm talking like, they start really hitting some big numbers. So the channel that she created in 2015, it says here, is how to the eight passengers. That's what it was called, because they became a family of eight. And so in 2015, Ruby Franke, a mother of six, launched the family YouTube channel, Eight Passengers, sharing the daily lives of her children and husband. Kevin, the channel, and her husband Kevin. The channel quickly gained popularity, reaching nearly 3 million subscribers at its peak. At times, it brought in over $100,000 per month, allowing the family to move into a larger home, Kevin revealed in the documentary. Okay, so listen, y'all. This home that they brought that they moved into, like, it was a nice home in Utah. I'm talking like a nice suburb in Utah. So like the people who lived in there, and they were like their neighbors were on the in this documentary too, and whatnot. But the people who lived in that neighborhood, they were doing some they were they had some good lives. They're living some healthy lives. And let me put it that way. Um and in the documentary, as it mentions here, is Kevin talks about this. He mentions like I think it's like the first or second episode where he talks about like at their peak, the most they made a month or the most they were making at one point per month was $100,000. And so that means they were bringing in money, right? And he kind of goes into how the channel was growing, and it just surprised him how much it was growing and growing and growing to the point where they all I believe they all became essentially full-time into the channel creation of the channel. um but but you could tell, like, they're showing videos, like they were showing like clips, like things that never aired, because there was like thousands of hours of videos that never actually made it to like up to her YouTube channel, obviously, or to their YouTube channel. And it was funny. The whole family was actually part of. They created their business under the whatever it was called for the eight passengers, and then the kids were getting paid. Now, here's the craziest part thing, right? So like, the kids were getting paid $10 per episode. So every episode that they participated in, they would get $10 per episode. Y'all, that's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Stupid. You're making at one point $100,000 per month, and you're only giving your kids $10 per episode that they participate in. Stupid. Stupid. And so here's the thing though, right? There's some child labor laws and the taxes, how it goes. So you can hire your kids as employees to your business if you have an LLC or whatever the case might be. Obviously follow the legality laws of it. However, you can only pay them up to, I think it's $12,000 a year. So be careful do what you're going to do. I mean, however you're going to do that, right? If you do choose to go that route, nothing wrong with it per se, but just understand you can only pay your kids up to $12,000 per year. Um, and then obviously when they become of working age, then you obviously can work that out and whatever the case may be. But follow the rules, follow the laws. Just letting y'all know it's a thing, it's a real thing. Many people do it. Many LLCs do it. So, uh, but she was only paying her kids $10 per video, which is absurd to me. Now, there were some fairly younger kids, so obviously $10 is acceptable. I think it's just as you get older, and at one point, maybe you're not paying them. Maybe you start putting more money towards their savings or spreading it out. Maybe they were doing, I don't know, but that's just my 2 cents in that part. So, however, concerns about Frankie's parenting methods soon emerged. In June 2020, her then 15-year-old son, Chad, revealed on camera that he had been sleeping on a beanbag chair in the basement for 7 months as punishment. Yo, okay. So I'm old enough to know about beanbag chairs, and I think everybody knows about beanbag chairs, but like really the love and the fascinations about beanbag chairs. I'm old enough to know to kind of be aware of the coolness that beanbag chairs bring. How this came about was basically she said that she believed that her son was possessed and by a demon, and that he was not, and he was, because he wasn't following the rules, he was being disobedient, and he was being disrespectful. Now, like, don't get me wrong, again, I wasn't in the home. I'm just, again, this is kind of what was being put out as what was going on. And and so they said he was being disrespectful and whatnot. And so, Kev, he his punishment was essentially like he couldn't sleep in his bed and he was sleeping on a beanbag chair. But then he said it in a video, and like she let him say it, and she posted this video as if it was normal, as this is okay. But the scary part about that was like everyone, not scary part, but the thing that came out of this was like, what the heck is this lady doing now? Massive following, and all of her followers, all the people online started just ragging on her, like, yo, like, why is your kid sleeping on a beanbag chair? Why is he doing why are you doing this to him? Poor kid. And like Chad, and when you watch the first episode, and kind of because it lays the foundation of who she is, the family, the amassing their success, and then you're like, how did it take a left turn and so bad? Well, the crazy thing is, um, there were signs throughout, and that's what the first episode does. It kind of lays out how there were signs throughout, and the in one particular is this one right here. So I'll actually continue reading. It says in other footage show her threatening to withhold meals and cut off the head of her child's teddy bear. She was like, hey, if she had this teddy bear for her, I think it was the youngest daughter, and she put it in her face, and she was like, basically, because the youngest daughter wasn't listening, she goes, I'll cut off his head. And like had like was gonna like threaten to cut off like that's a traumatizing event for a child right there. But it gets worse, I promise you. It definitely gets worse from here. But in another video, she insisted on public sharing a mother's-daughter conversation with Sherry about her teenage first menstrual period. Gosh, no. The problem is she got too much wrapped up into the whole uh, idea of what being a influencer was, and you could just tell she was enjoying herself, but then it became more of like, because we make money off of it, I need to continue doing this, and my kids need to love doing this. And her kids, you could tell her kids started they stopped wanting to make videos. They were like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. But she was just like, do you not want to do this with me or not? Like, there were several videos where she would say that. In 2020, Protective Services visited the Frankie home after receiving a complaint about Ruby's treatment of her children. I remember that morning very well. Frankie told the Wrap in 2021. These officers, they were two ladies, said there had been several complaints about child abuse and child neglect. Could they come and spend some time? After the visit, no charges were filed. Frankie told the Wrap the CPS officers were so impressed with her parenting that they had allegedly asked for the child's rearing tips before leaving. She insisted that her cancellation stemmed from demonstrating, as I have done from anyone, as I have done from day one, what a responsible mother she looked like. No, she was lying. So truthfully, this is where it kind of gets crazy. She meets Jodie Hildebrandt. Now, Jodie Hildebrandt is this older lady, y'all. And let me see if I can pull up a picture of her. Because Jodie Hildebrandt, man, let me tell y'all, she's this lady, this crazy lady. Um, and oh, shoot, she's this crazy lady that she. Hold on, let me do this. So Jodie Hildebrandt, um, ultimately crazy lady, crazy lady, and she's this life coach. I think she's a counselor. I think she's actually a trained counselor. I don't remember at the top of my head if she is, if that's the actual case, but she's she, I know she was considered like a coach, a life coach. And um and so she had convinced or she was seeing Chad. So Ruby thinks that Chad is possessed. He's going through some things, and because he's not listening, uh and Hilda, there we go. He's not listening, and so she's like, okay, hey, I need Chad to sit down with a counselor, and because he's not listening to me. Well, she she was an interesting person. Let me just say that because um she would tell him, she would give him advice, and he said in the he felt heard. Um but you could tell it was manipulation, right? He's a young man, and you could tell it was manipulation from the jump. So that's Jodie Hildebrandt right here. This is her photo from when she got locked up, or when she was getting locked up. That lady just looks crazy, y'all. Like, she just looks crazy. um so yeah, she was this. I think yeah, she was a counselor. Yeah. Okay. So I'm sorry. She was a counselor. She had her license revoked, stripped, and everything. So it says Jodie Hildebrandt is an American convicted child abuser, former counselor, retired businesswoman, and YouTuber. On August 30th, 2023, Hildebrandt and Rudy Frankie were arrested in Washington County, Utah, and charged with 6 counts of aggravated child abuse of the two Frankie's children. Yeah, she was Utah State Christian. Yeah, she's let me tell y'all, she's insane. And so Jodie Hildebrandt is the one who ultimately is the is the orchestrator of all of this, of what ends up happening. And so I know I want to come I'm going to talk about Frank in a second, or I'm sorry, Kevin in a second, but I want you all to understand what happened, especially if you haven't seen it. And so Jodie Hildebrandt is the catalyst for all of this. And she's the one who ends up convincing Ruby to kick out Kevin. So she kicks Kevin out because she's like, hey, Kevin is um essentially uh he's lustful, and he has these bad urges to just want to do um to just do bad things, and all that, right? Like, she's convincing Ruby that her husband is just this terrible, terrible person. And so she believes it. And in the end, she kicks him out of the house. She kicks him out. Um, she kicks him out of the house and says, "You know what? You're done." So let's see. Oh, here we go. And I'll read this. The Frankies found counsel Jodie Hildebrandt through a family friend, and in the end, they've and the founder of the counseling business Connections. And she was brought in to help the family Chad, but later began counseling Sherry and Kevin too. So she moved into the house, y'all. In 2021, she moved into the Frankie's home, and that's kind of what led to this. Let's see. It says, as Ruby became more devoted to Hildebrandt's methods, Kevin recalled in the docuseries that the children began to complain about filming videos. At one point, saying they were losing their light after Hildebrandt moved in. Kevin said he was invited to leave the house. Yeah. Believing he was the root of an unspoken family problem, he continued attending Hildebrandt's online men's group counseling sessions to cut off all communication with his wife and children. Y'all, he did not talk to the kids, the wife, the kids, for the neighbors for a year. A whole year. He didn't talk to them for a whole year because of Hildebrandt. It says Ruby started training as a coach with Connections, and she and Hildebrandt also ran a Instagram account called Moms of Truth. Meanwhile, Sherry began researching Hildebrandt online and discovered that the counselor had lost her therapy license and had been subject of numerous complaints from former patients. Still, her mother brushed off her concerns, according to the Time. I didn't know that part. So she lost her counseling license, her therapy license, prior um to this whole at the actually whole thing. Prior to her being imprisoned. I didn't know that. I thought she had lost it after the fact. She lost it prior to that. I didn't know. That's craziness. Kevin told filmmakers that Jodie would go into possessed trances and would start speaking in other voices. So Ruby began sleeping in the same room as Jodie out of concern. Okay. One day, when Sherry was home from college, she walked into her old bedroom, which Ruby and Jodie shared, and found massage oils and candles everywhere. It was much more than a friendship, Kevin said in the docuseries, much more than a sister did. It was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortably intimate. Shortly after, Ruby kicked Kevin and Chad out of the house and disowned Sherry after discovering she had tried to contact Kevin. So much nonsense. Okay, so I'm going to stop right here. Okay, I'm going to stop right here, and I'm going to get into I'm going to really get into the nitty gritty of this. Kevin and Chad are end up getting kicked out. Right, Chad kicked out because you know because he's possessed. It's believed that he's bringing down he's bringing down the morale essentially and bringing down the other kids, and not wanting to do things as well. And then it also talks about and then who else it was, and then shortly after that, Kevin is the next one to go. But in the video, I think in the docu series, what ends up happening is it's more of a mutual thing. It's like, hey, it's what's best for the family. That's how it's outlined for him. Hey, it's best for the family that you leave. And so he goes over in the docu series. He's downstairs and he's hugging these kids goodbye, and and they're both. And then she's Ruby's recording this. Ruby's recording him saying goodbye to his kids, because he doesn't know how long he's going to be gone, right? Because he thinks he's the cause of everything that's going on in the house. And, you know, and I think he says that Hildebrandt kind of had this smirk on her face of just this smirk of just like, yeah, I got you. I want y'all to know something. When I was watching this, it was from right off from the bat. I could tell that this Hildebrandt lady was a feminist. It was an ultra feminist. Now, I that's my belief. It didn't come out and outwardly and say that, but it shows some of the thing her videos, her YouTube videos, and all that, and you could tell there was a clear disdain for just hate for men. Even Kevin talked about how she doesn't. It clearly was all these women that she was helping, they would end up having this disdain for their husbands, or this hate for them for the men in their lives, for their sons, because he said it seemed like the Hildebrandt, her goal was to get them to hate the men. And so I told my wife as we're watching this, I said, I think that lady is a feminist. I think she just hates men and she had a bad experience, and she just ultimately wants every other woman to hate men along with her. And I think it was part of I think it was part of her moving in there. That's like the whole thing. Man, this is just craziness to me. Um, so at this point though, for me, right? At this point, gosh, you get all these ads for um at this point, um I'm watching this and I'm seeing this and I'm seeing him leave, and I'm thinking to myself like, okay, so you're willingly just going to leave. Okay, that's strange. And he believed he was the cause for it. That's why he left. And you know, Sherry, the oldest daughter, gets in trouble for trying to contact her dad. Could you imagine your oldest kid gets in trouble for trying to contact your dad, her own dad, and not letting it happen, and you kick her out and you say, hey, you're done. She kicked her out, like she legitimately kicked her out. Chad loved his mom, and he believed, like, she manipulated him, her and Hildebrandt manipulated him to believe that he had issues that he needed to work out, and before he could come return back to the family, he needed to work those things out. I think the reality is Hildebrandt's goal was to get all of those people who could do anything, who could intervene, and who she couldn't manipulate, out of the home. And she had successfully manipulated, from what I could tell, Chad, but still, I think he probably would have came around at one point. Now, Kevin, he was half and half at times. Like half of the times he was in, half the times he was kind of like suspicious of her. But I think all of it, ultimately, he was trying to be supportive of his wife, and so that's why he was okay with it. Um, and Kevin, guys, Kevin, keep in mind, so Kevin hasn't had communication with this family for a year. And I'm gonna kind of explain the docu series and how what happened in the docu series third episode, or the final episode. So Kevin hasn't had contact with the family for a year. The youngest son is, at this point, he all the family, so Ruby and the other kids have moved to Hildebrandt's freaking home it's this bigger home, um out in the middle of the sticks, right? And so your neighbors the neighbor's house is a decently distance away. And uh and so Kevin had no contact with his family for a year. One of the youngest sons shows up to the neighbor's house at 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 Hildebrandt's, from next to Hildebrandt's house, and they show the camera, green camera recording, whatever it is, what camera it is, right? It shows the camera recording, and it shows this young boy knocking and ringing the doorbell, waiting, and someone, older man, coming and said, "Hey, what can I do for you?" He goes, "Can you please call the cops?" And he goes, "Oh, what happened? Did something happen?" He goes, "Well, it's none of your business. It's my business." And so he has the kid sit down, but you could tell, but he has um he has not like he has, what's that called, the clear stuff that when you put on like tattoos, I forgot what it's called, right? After you get a tattoo, he has that, but then he has also duct tape around that over his wrist, wrist and his ankles. You could tell he's been bleeding. He's been bleeding under that saran wrap. I think it's saran wrap, under saran wrap and the duct tape. Under, you could tell there's it's all red. You could tell he's been bleeding from there. And so they sit him down. This older man is talking on the phone, and so uh he's it just gets eerie. Let me read this. In August 2020, Frankie's 12-year-old son escaped by climbing out a window and fled to a neighbor's home in Ivins, Utah, asking to be taken to the nearest police station. The woman told authorities she had encountered an emaciated child with tape around his legs who was hungry and thirsty. Court documents revealed that the boy told police Hildebrandt had tied him up and used home remedies to treat wounds caused by the restraints. Frankie's plea agreement further disclosed that her son was frequently kept bound while her 9-year-old daughter was forced to perform manual labor outside in the scorching heat without water or shoes. Both children were told they were possessed and that their punishments were meant to help them. When police were called, Kevin said in the docuseries that he had still been holding out hope that Ruby would let him move back home and respected her no contact wishes until then. He even continued attending Hildebrandt's weekly online connections men's group meetings. This man was manipulated to the T, and he had believed that he was holding out hope that his family would contact him. So Ruby calls him. So Ruby's not, when all this is happening, the young man, the police get called. The police come to the house. They get they knock on the door. Hildebrandt comes to answer. She's like, "I'm on the phone with my lawyer," and they pull her out and they go in and they're searching this home. They found the young girl in a bathroom, and they said she had a shaved head. She was emaciated, same thing, very skinny. Just emaciated just means, and I didn't know what it means, but they said it in the docuseries, just lacking, needing food and needing water, very clearly lacking nutritional. They didn't have no nutritions. Um, and the police are there. They find her. They don't. She doesn't want to talk to the policeman at all. So one of the police officers stays there, and he says in the docuseries that he sat there and he said he tries not to get things too personal, but he said he just remembers sitting there thinking about his young kids, and you can tell he was getting teared up as he's sitting there, but he's giving her food, giving her water, just trying to help her, just trying to help her as much as possible in that moment. The police clear this whole house. There's one door. It's a safe door. It looks like a safe, but you could tell it's a room behind it. And they said, "Hey, what's the code?" And she said, "I haven't used it. I don't know what the code is." The cop goes down there and he's just like, "Hey, I'm just gonna try typing things in here until we can get this code." And it's 1 2 3 4 5 6, and sure enough, it opens. That was the code, and he opens it, and that's when they find the handcuffs. That's when they find several other things, the rope, the home remedies that they were using to help to try to help uh um to stop the blood and all that, and from the kids when they were bleeding, and help heal their wounds or whatever, or set their wounds. And uh you know you could just tell, like, this, a lot of things, vicious things were going on. So Kevin gets called by Ruby. Ruby is nowhere to be found yet. The police have showed up to their home, showed up to the Franks' home. They cleared the whole home. No one's in that home. You could tell it's all very dirty. You could tell basically they were moved out, but it was like they were still trying to like gut that house completely before they finally moved out and moved into Hildebrandt's house, in the house that where the young boy and the young girl were found. The two youngest children were found. Uh, and um, and so Kevin gets a call from Ruby, and Ruby says, "Hey, this is your moment to make it up for the kids, to make it up to me, to make it up to the family. You need to go get the kids. They're at the hospital. You need to go get them and bring them to me." So Kevin, taking this opportunity, drives an hour away to go get his kids, but he's told they're at the police. He needs to go to the police station first. So he goes to the police station, and he gets there, and the cops immediately pull him into an interrogation room, recording and everything. And they start asking him questions and questioning him. He is uh he is just a ball of joy. Let me just tell you. Um let me see if I can find this video. Uh Let me see if I can find this video. I want y'all to see it, because like he is just a dude. Like um no, I don't want the full. Let's see. This dude is. Let me see if I can just find a brief video. Let's see if I can do. Let's do this one. Um, Let me just. This dude, man. Let me tell y'all, he is, he's an interesting character, because he he shows up, and they're asking him. They're saying like, "Hey, do you know do you know, let me, oh, here, I got it here. Let me get this shared over here for y'all to see, because I think y'all need to see this. So let me get this shared up over here so you can see what I'm seeing. This man, oh my gosh. I see, that was gonna go there. And we'll do full screen there. Let me play some of this.
We're just kind of ask you a few questions about your involvement. Okay, so first, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be held against you in the court of law. Okay, you have the right to an attorney or to have him or her present while questioning. If you cannot afford to hire one will be hired to represent you. If you decide to answer questions, you can stop at any time. Okay, do you understand your rights?
I do.
Okay, do you wish to speak to me now?
Well, I want to pick up my kids.
How about this? We're gonna ask you some questions, and if you don't want to answer them, you just say, "Hey, man, I'm not gonna answer that."
Sure.
And
So just say, "Hey, that's not beneficial to you," and then we're done. You're nowhere, and we're nowhere. And...
Sure.
You understand that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so just for starters, what was your full name?
Kevin William Frankie.
How to spell that?
Kevin.
Yeah, like I would love to be able to help you out with this, and like I've seen live videos because I'm unaware of your involvement in what's really going on. So for you to say that you're unaware of the status of your kids kind of makes, I know that sounds kind of crummy to you, but it sounds kind of good to me. Like, who lives in that home with your, is it ex-wife? Is it currently a separated wife? Like, who lives in that home with your children?
To be honest, I don't know. I know that she's there with 4 of the children, and our 2 older children have moved out.
They're not at your, does it make sense that that would happen? I'm just not aware of anyone who did that from our department.
Like I said, I know nothing that's going on. in their lives or anything going on.
How did you find out that you needed to come here to 55 North Main Street?
I received a message that I needed to come pick up my kids from the police department in Highlands.
And who was that message from?
Well, I prefer not to say right now.
It would just help us a lot.
I'll try to figure out who reached out to you because it makes sense that that would happen. I'm just not aware of anyone who did that from our department.
Right. And I'm not comfortable saying right now who reached out to me.
Okay.
So you said.
That's correct.
And then, what was the last time you saw her? Because how old is she now?
15.
Okay, so listen, like you're listening to this, and like I mean, immediately I was suspicious of this, but this is a man right here who he hasn't seen his kids, he hasn't seen his family, and Ruby was the one who called him, but he doesn't tell the cops that. He just said like, "Hey, I prefer not to say." And that to me, look, if you've been married for a long time, you know, you're going to stand 10 toes down for your wife, regardless of what's going on at your home, especially if you guys are so technically together. Divorced, I understand, separated because it ended well, but like this dude is, he's committed to his wife, but that's not an excuse, right? That's not an excuse that doesn't give him off. That doesn't get him off from just being able to do whatever he wants. And this guy right here, man, he is totally still standing up for defending his wife. Now, I think at this point, they haven't actually told him what happened. And I was trying to find it. I wish I had set it up before, but I don't think they have actually told him what happened yet. And when he hears what happens, this man breaks. He doesn't believe it. He doesn't believe. He tells the officers he doesn't believe them. And he's like, I just want to see my kids. I just want my kids. I'm here to pick up my kids. And their officers are like, okay, well, hey, you know, it's good to know you're not part of this, and that you weren't a part of this. He's like, I haven't seen my family in a year. He did. It's like, I don't know what, and he does not believe what they're talking about. He still believes, because I didn't even say this. I totally forgot about this. So when Ruby called him, she told him that the kids were possessed and that the police and everybody went and got them, and whatever the case might be. But the kids are possessed, and that there's something going on with them. And so he, in his mind, he's believing Ruby. He believes that the kids were possessed. Now, keep in mind, two older kids had been possessed at one time. Ruby herself was possessed at one time. You know, and now the two kids were possessed. This is just a constant psychosis of like, hey, like kids are possessed. This is what's going on. The ends justify the ends justify the means. But Kevin when he was at the house, he was a part of a lot of those things. The thing was Chad. They sent Chad to this camp when Chad was sleeping on the sleeping bag. He was there and he agreed to it. So all these things are happening. This father had an opportunity to intervene and he didn't. He didn't defend his kids. He didn't step up for his kids. He didn't do a single thing to defend his kids, but he went above and beyond to defend his wife. And, you know, I'm a man. I love my wife. I love my kids, but like, there's a difference between right and wrong. And in this moment, there were several key moments several key things that happened. In the video, some of those videos that I talked about earlier showed it, that where Kevin should have stepped up and intervened and been the father, been the man of the home. They're Mormons, they're believers. You know, now I won't get into the weeds of the Mormon faith, because the Mormon faith is very strange when you get into the weeds of what they believe, and they're, you know, between heaven and hell and different echelons. I'm not going to get into it, but you know, they were devout believers. So they claim they prayed as a family. They went to their LDS, their LDS church, whatever the case might be. Like they were committed believers, but like still, like, you know, Kevin wasn't stepping up to be the man of the house like he was supposed to, and so he was allowing, uh, you know, Ruby to just do whatever she wants. Like again, like it's so strange, y'all. So strange. But anyway, Kevin at this point, questioned by the cops. Let me see if I can find the point where they tell him.
And then when all the kids left, Ruby took all of them.
Yeah, she stayed in the house.
How your kids?
At the last resort, I've lost.
Oh, geez, there's an ad. Let's see here.
Kids are?
She's not saying anything about it.
Who's this female Jodie that your wife was? Do you know a female named Jodie?
She is a therapist and a life coach, and she's.
Do you respect her?
Do I respect her?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think she's a very honest, truthful person. Yes.
Okay. You place value on Jodie?
I don't know what that means.
Do you value what she says and how she treats? Is your wife a client of hers? Is your wife a partner?
Yes. I have it in the videos, and that's what you mean.
I'm trying to see if I can find it.
The past chapter, yeah.
So how do you and Ruby communicate? Just through
Communication that.
Decide to collaborate, come together, and mesh life. That's what happened.
Well, they decided to start a business, and frankly, I agree. The space has been exactly what I need to face, my own addictions and receive the support and help that I've needed. And so the space has been very, very good for me.
Mm-hmm. So when you stated that you and Ruby had this no contact, that you guys just were agreed upon, was that an idea given by Jodie that she recommended you guys have that space and not contact one another?
I'm not aware of that. The invitation for me to leave and take space.
To remove both Russell and Eve from your wife's care. So no one right now is going to have access to these two children. Second, and think about what I just said today. We received a phone call from 911 on our dispatch that a 12 to 13-year-old boy was knocking on doors in a neighborhood asking for food and water, that he was severely emaciated, that he had
What is emaciated?
skinny, scrawny, nutrition, not enough food, not enough water to sustain life. So he had duct tape on his extremities, on his hands, on his ankles, and those were covering rope burns that were used to tie him down. Take a second and think about what I just said. That's the condition of your son. Given that information, your son was taken to the hospital. A warrant has been applied and granted by the Department of Child and Family Services to remove both Russell and Eve from your wife's care. So no one right now is going to have access to these two children based on their physical condition. Do you understand that?
I understand.
Would you condone that behavior?
What I can do that behavior.
That's my job. My job is to find out your knowledge of treatment of these
based on
precious
your
children.
description, no. Again, I don't know the details. I don't know. But as you described that sounds
Horrible, disgusting. No human being should be treated like that.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts, but we might be different on that. We're gonna let you sit here for a second, okay? We're gonna go out and talk. I'm not saying you're still not free to go for the next 7 years.
The medical hold on.
I want you to think about that for a minute. So I have no idea where they're at.
Oh, I don't either. Look, I'm interested in the fact that at the same time I'm interested in all.
But you understand our facts. Our facts are this. You have because it's maybe malnutrition and has marks. I didn't spend any time with Sergeant Tobler did.
Did any of you?
I have not. She was requested to go to the hospital along with based on her condition.
Look, I don't know what to do. Like, I want this. You realize that I have a picture of my family on my wall, and I look at it every day. And I work every day. So I can back to my family, say to my family that everything you're sharing to me just sounds like a made up story. Like I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, it sounds like a horror movie.
So when I saw that, that emotion, that raw emotion that he just showed right there, I can resonate with that, and I think any father can resonate with that, of just that feeling, just like, hey, I have a picture of my kids, my entire family, and what the reason for my being, the reason why I do what I do is for them. And I look at that picture, and you're going to tell me that my wife is doing something evil, or is a participant, or is a part of this evil thing against my kids, and how you found my kids. Like it's hard to believe. And I think anybody in that situation can resonate with that. When you hear, if you're sitting in this room and you're hearing this, and you're just like, what is going on? I don't understand. So, like, in a lot of ways, I can understand where Kevin is coming from. But at the same time, guys, I think, we have to take responsibility. We have to. And Kevin, at no point in my eyes, didn't want to take responsibility. And he just allowed his wife to do and say whatever she wanted to be. He allowed her to be the one in control, takingly doing all the things. And I think this is ultimately what led to is why and how this demise happened. The moment Kevin left the house, all of these things started happening. All the kids are possessed. All these things these things breaking down, breaking down, and the home structure's breaking down. They're moving out. He didn't even know that they were moved out of the house. None of that. He didn't know any of these things. And so, like, I feel for Kevin. I do. I really, really do. I do feel for Kevin in a lot of ways. But he was manipulated, and he didn't know how. He didn't. He in a lot of ways, he refused to acknowledge that he was being manipulated. And so, you know, you heard him say it. He goes, it's hard to believe. He goes, I can't believe what you're telling me, right? Like, hard to believe. And in the docuseries, Kevin says, like, hey, like, I didn't, I didn't believe him even when I left. And so he calls his son. He meets his son, and him meet at the house, and they go through the house, and the house is just a hot mess. And that's when you start to see he's recording. The house is a mess. It's a wreck. Everything's off the wall. it's just a complete chaotic scene of what's going on in that house. Um, oh, I didn't mean to press play. It's a chaotic scene of what's going on in that house, and uh, it's very evident, very evident that they were trying to leave. Like Jody and Ruby were trying to leave that house, and so the officers went over. You heard what how the two kids were found, and the traumatic experience that these kids experienced or had to go through, right? You heard that. So in the end, they found the two. So the two older kids, the two middle kids, were at some friend's house and down a neighbor's house, whatever, and the police took them. But what ended up happening to Ruby and Jody? And so Ruby Frank pleaded guilty to 4 counts of child abuse, admitted to torturing her children. She said that from May 22nd through August 30th, she tortured her now 12-year-old son by forcing him to endure hours of physical tasks, including wall sits and carrying boxes full of books up and down stairs. He was also subject to outdoor labor in the summer heat with enough water, and inflicted repeated and serious sunburns that blistered, according to CBS News. Frankie claimed that she even believed or was led by Hildebrandt to believe that her children were possessed and carried out those horrific punishments in an attempt to rid them of demons. As of Hildebrandt, she also pleaded guilty days after Frankie to 4 counts of child abuse. Her plea agreement acknowledged that she either tortured the children or was aware of the abuse. The agreement also said that Hildebrandt either physically forced or coerced Frankie's daughter to jump into a cactus multiple times. In 2024, Frankie was sentenced to 4 consecutive sentences of 1 to 15 years in prison. Meanwhile, Hildebrandt was sentenced to 4 consecutive terms of 1 to 15 years following Frankie. Ruby Frankie wants to take responsibility for the harm she caused to her children and her entire family. She knows that pleading guilty and accepting the punishment she's taking is a step in the right direction and accountable for her actions. Let me tell y'all, I don't care. You deserve it. So she did in the end. She did come out and say, and during the court, she said, hey, she acknowledged, and she said, I plead guilty to all 6 or to all counts, all 4 counts there that were right there. Right? She pled guilty to all 4 counts. So did Jodie Hildebrandt. And I don't care. Like, I think if you're willing to do that to your kids, you don't you, you deserve it. You deserve it. Kevin, you guys, Kevin filed for divorce. It says from Ruby in late 2023, a few months after her and Hildebrandt's arrest. He has not been charged with any crimes and insists he was unaware of the abuse. Um, and he said that listening to Ruby's testimony in court felt like getting stabbed. He said, because I believe it and I do still love her, he said, but that doesn't mean that I'm not as angry as I can be at her. I don't want to be hurt and abused by her anymore. And so it's a painful decision to say, no, I love you. No, I love you and I love you enough to walk away from you and to leave you so you can get the help that you need. Let me play this. This is the video I was talking about earlier, but that I found on X. But let me play this video for you guys. That where he's talking about this, because this dude, man, it's easy for me to read it and then you know, uh it's easy for me to read it and be like, oh yeah, but let me play this for y'all. So
even though she abused the kids, you still love her.
Oh, yeah.
Even though she abused the kids, you still love her.
Oh, yeah.
when I heard that, guys, oh, my heart sank, because I I know what it's. I love my wife. My wife would never do anything vicious or anything wrong to her kids like that, right? But like, um, I can I can resonate with him in the sense of like, in the sense that you know this is the woman that you married. This is the woman that gave you, and for him, they had 6 kids, right? So this is the woman who gave birth to your children, who created life for you, who loves you, and at the time at least said claim to love you. And I get it. I get it. Like I would, to acknowledge it. Like I don't hate to admit it or acknowledge it, but like I'm being real with you guys. I think yeah, I still love. I would be remiss to say like yeah, I still love my wife. That's my wife. That's the woman I fell in love with. The woman I walked down the aisle. The woman who gave me who birthed my kids. The woman who was with me thick and thin. The woman who, when I was having problems, she was there with me. The woman when she was having problems, I was there with her. Like we've been through so much. They went through so much together. To sit there and tell him like, hey, you don't love? Do you love this? You still love her? No, I hate her. I wouldn't believe that if he said that. I wouldn't believe him. And and so yeah, Kevin. Kevin, he's got some issues, guys. The guy's got some issues. But I think, he was manipulated and he was manipulated. His love for his wife was the manipulation. It's what was used to manipulate him. And I encourage y'all to watch it. I say that because I really want you guys to see for yourself a lot of the things. I didn't go over. I mean, I've been talking for going on 55 minutes now, but like I'm telling y'all, like there's a lot, and I think you guys should really look over it yourself. And I was skipping to the video because I wanted you all just kind of see his interrogation. But like let me tell y'all, like there's some messed up things that were happening in this family. This family is very messed up. Oh, let me finish this with this and why I think Kevin needs help and why I think Kevin's messed up in the head. So it was reported after the court of the case and Ruby's sentence and all that. Her and him and Sherry go back to their home to just collect their things in the house, whatever the case might be. And he invites Sherry into the home to only call the cops on her and said she's breaking and entering. Yes. And then he calls the cops and says, and he's like, and he has her pop the trunk of the cops looking through and they're like, hey, like there's nothing we can do here. And he goes, but she's stealing. She's burglarizing my home. Yo, like this man just was manipulated. Here's some tragic news, and then take your oldest daughter home to go get some stuff and whatever the case might be, and then you try to call the cops on her and to get her. Like this man was still under some manipulation brainwash. So when I like hearing that, and then he's like, like, but then seeing in the docuseries like, hey, like I still love her and this, I can believe this and all these things. Like, hey, Kevin's messed up in the head just as much as his wife. And so those are two peas in a pod right there. Those two are two peas in a pod. I'll say that for sure. For certain. Definitely two peas in a pod. And so anyway, guys, crazy family, crazy dynamic, a whole thing. Again, I can only imagine being in that family. I wouldn't want to be in that family, but nonetheless, that is all I got for you guys. I think we will catch y'all later. And let's see, is this the one I want? No. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Okay, my thing is not working like I want it to. Anyway, I was gonna try to do my outro, but it's not working. Anyway, hey, we'll catch y'all later. Thanks for joining us. Man, what a crazy, this is all just crazy. Go check it out. Subscribe to the channel, guys. Again, I want to do more live episodes like this, but really, really think it's crazy is, this is an example of a father who was manipulated. His love was used against him, and his love for his wife was manipulated and perverted. It turned into some type of perversion to say like, hey, you're the problem. Um, he is the victim, like him and like many other men. There are many other men who are victim to this, who their love for their wife really, is turned against them. So I don't know, guys. Check it out. I want y'all to check it out. Tell me what y'all think in the comments. Comment below. Tell me what you think. Does Kevin deserve to be in jail? If you think he deserves to be in jail, put mediocre. If you don't think he deserves to be in jail, put dads. That's all I got for you guys. Catch you next time. Mediocre Dads out.